All right. It is a pleasure to have you join us today, Manasa. Thank you for agreeing to do this. Thank you for sharing your story as we celebrate API Heritage Month. And without further ado, could you please introduce yourself and tell us how you identify?
Thank you so much, Miss Addy. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And thank you so much for actually asking me to do this. It's really something great. And I'm really proud to be actually able to help and give back to my community, my team, Suffolk University. So it's always a pleasure. And introducing myself, I'm Mansa Mantha. I'll answer the identity question first. I born and raised in Mumbai, India. So I'm an Indian and an Asian. And before I came to the US to pursue my master's at Suffolk University in business analytics and marketing, I was actually in India. I started my undergraduate career with software engineering. So I actually hold a software engineering degree. And then I did my MBA in marketing, worked for a while, decided to pivot, come to the US, study, started working again over here. So it's been a very rewarding, very different, very unique journey, so to speak, that I've been on. And let's see where this takes me.
Well, it is no denying that identity impacts one's professional life, and you've had a few. How have aspects of your identity impacted your career?
So I'll tell you, there's two ways of looking at it. The first one is, and for me especially, because I've seen two different career paths, so to the first one being when you're at home, your identity doesn't really come into question because you're at home. You tend to take it for granted. The people you're working with, the environment that you're working in, you know all of the players, you know all of the people, you know all of the situations, and you know exactly how to deal with it. Versus when you're in Rome, you have to do as the Romans do, which means when you're in a situation like I am now, I'm in the US. There's a lot of it starts with a culture shock. Then there's a lot of learning that you have to take from the situation because you're meeting new people, you're seeing new places, you're working in a completely new environment. You are thrown into new situations that you've probably never seen before at home. So in terms of how my identity is really helping me shape my life, my career, it's it's very different because I'm able to bring back all of the learnings from what I had back home, and B, I'm able to blend that and move into some sort of adjusted blended material that I can work with to be able to forge my path here as well.
Love that. What does AAPI mean to you, and what does the Heritage Month, as someone who identifies as Asian, also mean to you?
So I'll tell you, AAPI heritage is very important. Heritage in general, being respectful, being aware about your culture, about your traditions, about your history is very important for everyone, irrespective of whether you identify as an Asian, whether you identify as anyone else. It's because you have to know and you have to take pride in where you've come from. You It's not necessarily glorifying the struggle or talking about how different it has been for you, but it's looking at what you can take away from all of the experiences that have happened in the past, and B, how much can you contribute to it. So for me, it's a lot more important that I am able to contribute to this as well. I'm able to make a mark in being able to talk about my heritage and what is the kind of significant value I have added, plus what have I taken away from here and what can I actually go on and use and learn and experience with what I have learned so far.
That's pretty cool. So you studied here at Suffolk University. Did you find community and support based on your heritage?
I did actually. So interestingly, Suffolk University does have a fairly large South Asian population. And what was really fun for us was we all had one common knowledge, one common language that we could communicate in. So it became easy for us to talk to each other and understand what is going on. If we needed help with anything, if we needed support with anything, I made a lot of new friends. But outside of just the Indian subcontinent, we also realized that the entire Asian community in general, even though we probably have differences in languages, we have differences in uh, the way we dress, the way we speak, the places that we've come from. The one very common thing was we were all, I think it's across Asia, we were all raised in the exact same way. So we started drawing parallels from each other's homes. Oh, the common factors became a little too common for us, and then we just realized, okay, we might be speaking very different languages, but we've seen the exact same situations back home. So it became fairly easy for us to relate to each other and build that sort of friendship, build that sort of relationship with everyone.
I'm glad you found that at Suffolk. How has your racial and cultural identity encouraged and empowered you in your line of work?
So my line of work is actually really interesting, and I'm very glad to be answering this question. Um, as you know, but for people who haven't heard this before, I started working at Sanofi Global Business Services in August last year, and I joined as the head of culture and engagement. The really interesting part of my job is being able to talk to my team, which is literally spread across the length and breadth of the entire world. So in terms of racial, cultural identity, in terms of how do I build that sort of relation with people from different countries, different languages, different backgrounds, different time zones. I literally have meetings across 3 different time zones at this point, and it's 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 a struggle sometimes, but it's also really rewarding because you get to learn about a lot of new things. Like I recently had a meeting with someone who was in Asia, and the US and Asia, there's an exact 12-hour difference. And so we have to, the adjustments we're making is sometimes he shows up early for meetings, sometimes I show up late for meetings, and then we make that sort of adjustment. There are some others in my team who work in Hungary. The really exciting part is I have started learning a little bit of Hungarian to be able to talk to them. So there's at least the highs and hellos that I have managed so far. It's stuff like that that really makes me happy, that really encourages me to be able to work with people, talk to people. And the kind of organization I'm in, they encourage that as well. And that is something that I'm really excited about.
Wow, that's really cool. Can you describe how would you describe your biggest success story in your career today?
One, I don't think I've had a very long career. So in terms of my biggest success story, I've always looked at it in a way that, so success is both perspective locked and it's also very relative. So if you would ask me this question in, say, 2016, at that point, the biggest success story I had was one of the campaigns that I'd worked on was a globally acclaimed campaign, and it actually won Cannes Awards. It won worldwide awards. It was in the newspapers, headlines in 95 countries. At that point, that was a huge success for me. If you'd asked me about 2 years ago, the biggest success was that I managed to somehow convince everyone that at 31, I want to move to the US and I want to do something different with my life and I want to go back to school. Today, I was able to actually finish all of my work in time, take a break, and get back to thinking about what I want to do next for the rest of the week and how do I prepare for what I'm doing. It's like, so in my perspective, that is my biggest success story. For someone else, it might seem a little inconsequential and they'd be like, okay, why is she talking about these things? But it matters. It's again, like I said, it's relative and it's also very, very perspective locked.
Hey, it's your story, right? At the end of the day, we get to be a part of it because you're sharing it with us. So that is what is most impactful for me, and I hope the same for others as well. Staying in line with success, who or what has been the most impactful or helpful in your professional success?
Professional success, personal success, all of my success, 100% my parents. They will always remain at the top of all of these lists. For the simple reason being, I think they have put up with me for a very long time. So I think I should give them this award in any case. But jokes aside, every single decision that I have made, I've had 100% backing from them. Probably not initially, probably it's taken them a while to actually come to terms with what I'm trying to say, but then it's been unwavering support all through. Whether I wanted to study, whether I wanted to teach, whether I wanted to work, whether what I've planned to do, all of it. It comes with a lot of hard work, comes with a lot of discussions, comes with a lot of time that you have to spend trying to explain to them what is happening. But then, yes, at the end of it, there's, like I said, unwavering support from both of them. But apart from that, I also have a very special set of people. They're my mentors, guides, friends. I have managed to, I think, build that sort of group somehow. These are all of the people who were my old managers, my old bosses. There's a bunch of them that to this day, A, I can call them friends now. B, I can pick up the phone at any point, ask them questions about anything. And I know for a fact I will get very straight, very direct answers, very direct responses, support, you name it, I get it from them. So I'm very glad to have that kind of group. And it's something that I really want to keep growing, and hopefully they will always remain in my life. I know for a fact that they're really good friends of mine. So at any point I can actually pick up the phone and ask them anything. So it's something that I'm really, really happy about.
I'm glad to hear that. And can you tell us how you have been able to move past challenges? Because I think it's not always success, smooth sailing all the way. Sometimes we hit bumps, and when those challenges have come your way, when those setbacks have come your way, how have you bounced back from challenges or setbacks, or how have you moved forward from them?
This was something my father actually told me. He said, you're going to face a challenge every single day. You're going to face a challenge every single hour. You can sit and marinate in it, or you can take 5 minutes, cry about it, and then move on. Because you had a problem at 9 a.m., rest assured you are going to have a problem at 10 a.m. You don't have 55 minutes to waste on crying, because there's something else going to hit you right there. That is something that I try to use every day in however I'm looking at challenges, whether they're tiny mistakes that I make or whether it's something really huge. There's only two ways of dealing with it. One is accept that you made a mistake, or accept that this has happened. Apologize if you've made the mistake and move on. Try to fix it and move on. But if that's not possible, think about what is going to be your alternate plan. So always, in my case, that is what I end up doing a lot. And that is what I actually hear from everyone saying, you always have a backup plan and a backup plan and a backup plan. And like, yes, that is how I function, because I know at some point something is going to go wrong somewhere. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. So you have to have what is your next plan of action ready. And if for some reason everything fails, apologize and move on.
I love that. So, is there any piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Yes, actually there is. See, I think when I was a kid, I had a lot of very fancy dreams. I thought I was going to be an astronaut. I was going to be in the Royal Air Force. I was in India. I don't even know why I was thinking of the Royal Air Force, but I wanted to be there. Then I wanted to be a lawyer, and I was making all of these grand plans. I knew at 25, I'm going to be married. I'm going to have 3 kids. I'm going to be a millionaire, very successful, all of that. Some of it has happened. Some of it is obviously not. But so to my younger self, the only thing I'm going to say is, please don't take life so seriously and don't be so stuck to your ideas, to your plans, because they're obviously not going to pan out the way you thought. Life is going to take its own course. You just have to go along with it. Just stay calm. Don't give yourself so much grief. If things don't go your way, it's fine. There's something better coming. And think of it that I think the most important that I'm actually going to tell myself is, please start working out, because you're not going to be able to survive like this if you're going to keep putting on 20 pounds every year. And if I'm talking to my 10-year-old self, 25 years from now, please understand you're going to be really, really fat if you don't start working out.
Love yourself. Love yourself. I like that. Well, Naza, thank you. Always. I know you're the kind of person that thrives on building relationships, and I'm grateful that you've given us your time and shared a little bit of your story with us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.